Peace family, this is Campson, one half of Remnantsgathering, and today we want to do the video that we've been doing every Sunday. We probably will not go on live tonight because the family is fighting a bug right now. But while I'm on that topic, I'm gonna get into some things that are all kind of interconnected. Um, first of all, I wanted to say that intuitively, I just been feeling these energetic parasites and these body snatching situations. And I did a video about it. If you didn't see that first one, go back and check that one out. That's when Isis first started helping me to understand the transformation we're going through and the positive and negatives that can present themselves as we're going through the spiritual awakening. So I was riding down the street the other day, and in my third eye, I blinked, and within the blinking of an eye, I saw this huge black creature. I can't even describe what it looked like. And it was in the sky, and it was so big, it took up like 1/3 of the sky. And I blinked again, and it was gone. And like literally, it freaked me out so much where I almost pulled over just to stop and take pictures or something. But of course I didn't see it again. But this was just my third eye allowing me to see energy. And so as we go through our spiritual awakening, our ability to see and feel energy is getting stronger. So I took that as a sign that I needed to talk about this for the video today. So with body snatchers, these are entities and energies that inhabit our space. May not just be your physical body, it could be your emotional body, it could be your etheric body, but they are able to invade our space, especially if we have holes in our aura, if we haven't fully been able to recapture elements of our soul, if we have trauma that has not been healed. All of these things are wounds. All of these things become open portals for these entities to come and inhabit space and actually manipulate our behavior, manipulate the way that we think, speak, and the things that we do. On a super simple level, you can look at candida, which we know sugar feeds candida, but candida actually begins to impact your behavior. Sugar impacts your behavior. So this isn't as scientific or sci-fi movie-ish as it sounds. It's not as paranormal as it sounds. And so as you are studying the anatomy of the spirit body, the energetic body, you begin to understand things differently. And so this is why you will crave foods that are not good for you, because these parasites don't want to die, and they will do anything by any means necessary to get you to feed them. So this isn't just for parasites within our physical body. This is any type of parasite, any form of entity or energy that's inhabiting space within us. Now, regarding these entity attachments, these energetic cords, energetic attachments, old traumas, addictions, bad habits, addictive patterns, self-critical patterns, self-hatred, self-loathing, low self-esteem, lack of motivation, willpower, passion, and drive. All of these things, everything is energy. Everything is vibration. Everything is frequency. And so right now, through 2019, we have experienced a lot of major shifts. And we actually have experienced a lot of portals, more than any other year that I remember. I have not heard anybody speak about the downside of the spiritual ascension and these portals opening and the activation that we are experiencing. And so the shadow side of this is that a lot of entities are inhabiting Earth right now who have never been here before. Okay, so since the veil is thinning, and since worlds and dimensions and realities are beginning to collide and overlaps each other, right, as these different paradigms and these shifts take place, we're dealing with energies and entities we've never dealt with before. And so what's happening is you can see it in your own life. I'm sure you don't have to watch the news or get on social media to see this, but people are being controlled by these entities, especially people who are unaware of themselves. They don't know themselves. They don't really know how to identify how they're feeling in the moment. This makes you super vulnerable to these entities. And this is why we say things like, I haven't just been feeling like myself lately. Or we say things like, yeah, she was really out of her character at work today. She usually never acts that way. This is why sometimes it's to the extreme that it calls people to kill their family, kill their spouses, kill their children, kill themselves. And so with that being said, by learning your spiritual anatomy, revisiting the laws of the universe, you will be able to better protect yourself psychically and those that you love. So I'm not making it appear that there was nothing positive that took place with us participating in the openings of portals and doing activities, rituals, and ceremonies to heal and to be able to manifest and be co-creators of the life we desire. But I just need people to be aware that these energies are super savage, and they kind of like the laws of the universe. They really don't give a damn who you are. It's just a frequency, it's an energy, and it doesn't discriminate. Okay, so the best way to arm yourself is knowledge, because we perish for lack of knowledge. Now, we will also see a lot of people breaking up and getting divorces. And sometimes you hear people say, he's a total different person than the person I first met. Sometimes this is just because the person has changed as they have grown, right? But oftentimes and intuitively, what I've been feeling is that right now, when these energetic cords and when these entities and these thought forms begin to kick in, because we're working so hard to be able to exceed our limitations spiritually, your spouse and your children will act different. So, one of the most powerful things that you can do to make sure you do not become a victim of these entities as these different portals and as the veil is thinning and we're gaining access to dimensions and realms that a lot of us are just now learning about. One really good way to guard yourself, again, is knowledge, meditations, visualizations, using crystals, using gratitude, shadow work, and self love work. And we highly recommend Loner Wolf website, lonerwolf.com. Check out their website, because to me, they have really been revolutionary as far as our transformation and the ability to reflect and look within. It is super important right now to pay attention to the man in the mirror, to the woman in the mirror. Because once you know yourself, when your energetic vibration gets hijacked by something outside of you, you will intuitively know, and then you can take inspired action to change it. We will have a link in the description to the website that I just mentioned, and I highly recommend you do any activities or tests or questionnaires on there so that you can better understand yourself, who you are, your challenges, and you are able to align yourself with your higher self to be able to co-create the life that you desire, and not allow yourself to continue to co-create from your unconscious and subconscious mind. So if you are not co-creating your reality and scripting your life, know that these energies and entities are more than willing to do it for you. And a lot of times, that's what we have become victims to. And this is why some of the things we cannot explain in our lives and some of the patterns we seem to get stuck in, this is why they happen. And one thing me and Ernest talked about today is paying attention to your vibration. And so when you notice your vibration changing, take note of that. Pay attention to it. Pay attention to the things that trigger you, because this is the opportunity. Your higher self, which we used to call God in religion, is giving you these trials and these tests for you to have the opportunity to find a solution by aligning yourself with Source, the creator energy of all things. Once you do that, then you have become a true alchemist. So remember the triple A's. The first thing is to become aware. You must assess yourself and inner reflect. The second thing is you must accept the things that you learn about yourself. And the third thing is the alchemy can begin. Let's switch it up a little bit to something that's actually happening in the world right now, and sharing our observations. Kanye West, he's back doing the church thing. A year ago, people were talking about the mind control he had experienced a lot, right? But he even began talking about mind control as well. And he began breaking down energy, waveforms, vibrations, thought forms, the ability to think, how social media is being used for social engineering. He began to speak on a lot of these things on his Instagram. And I found it interesting in this particular comment you see on the screen that the very next day after he did that live talking about this and exposing mind control and some of the things that is being used to do it on a collective level, they shut down his Instagram. So to me, that's suspicious. And it almost seems like he was breaking free from the mind control, and they had to re-traumatize him, to soul fragment him, and compartmentalize his consciousness for the future plans that they had for him. I find it interesting that anytime something super major happened in Kanye's life, from his mother dying to his own nervous breakdown, if you look at the dates to when he was hospitalized, it's always in the months of October and November. And I don't think that's by coincidence. That leads me to believe that gematria is actually being used alongside of his mind control programming, to program the masses, to program the people who haven't chose a side, to the people who haven't chose whether they're going to be on a spiritual path or on a religious path, a left-hand path or a right-hand path. People who are kind of just in the middle and kind of wayward and lost, and not even attempting to find their way back to themselves. People who are even unaware that they need to do that. They're using him to gather these people. It's super significant the time frame that they do this in, which is what we would call harvest season. It's close to what we call Halloween. This is Samhain. This is the time of the year when the veil is the thinnest, right? And so it just came to me, and I began looking up the information. I'm going to show you the screenshots. Yes, it is literally a 14-day time span in which most of the major events that happened in his life took place within November and October. So I'm going to put that up here. But I also wanted to mention him saying that the spirit of Tupac was flowing through him. Now, Nipsey Hussle, Tupac, I would even say Prodigy, I would even put Pimp C in there. But these are some people who suffered, right? They were punished for talking too much, for releasing information they didn't want released. And so they learned from their mistakes. So instead of doing the, just killing thing, it is our observation that he was lobotomized. He was taken through very severe mind control techniques. And we're gonna make sure we got links in the description so you can go and check this stuff out for yourself. But I believe that their foresight, the powers that be, is pretty far, right? And so they already had this plan staged. So for him to get his Instagram shut down the day after he says that, that's significant. That means that he was breaking an oath. He was breaking a code that he had taken by being affiliated with these organizations. Now, don't y'all remember when he visited Donald Trump right after his nervous breakdown and getting out of the MK Ultra Rehabilitation Center? Trump kept calling him a good boy. He's a good boy. He's a good guy. He, it was almost like some type of linguistic programming, some type of trigger words, the movements, the gestures. It was a ritual, and the purpose of this ritual was for what is happening now with him doing Sunday service. And I know it kind of don't seem like those things are connected, but trust me, if you sit down and go over the gematria of this like I did, you'll see that it is very much connected. And so let's take someone who is in the presidential office, and we know that he's racist. If you just call it like it is, if it walk like a duck, quack like a duck is a duck. Right? We know this. Okay, so he wore the red hat. They had him piss people off. But prior to that, he was the one exposed George Bush on live TV and said that George Bush hate black people. You know what I'm saying? So for him to go from that to that, that's like duality at its finest. That is mind control at its finest. And so what we were seeing was this fragmentation playing out before us. So Kanye even said himself that he would dye his hair every time he had a near-death experience. So all of this is clues as to what they're doing and why this Sunday service thing that he's doing is not just about money. And a lot of people have been saying that. No, it is about souls. It is about the consciousness of the collective. I'm going to go a little bit deeper, and then I'm going to put up the screenshots of the gematria. This is what it's about. A lot of us have gotten free from religion. A lot of us are cleansing ourselves of the indoctrination of the old 3D world. A lot of us are ascending. So guess what? They are losing soul power. We can't even imagine how much power a soul has. It's infinite. It is immortal. So for them to lose so many souls from their program that they had us trapped in, this is an issue. This means power is beginning to shift. The first shall be last, the last shall be first. That's what's happening. So with that being said, this is an agenda to usher souls who are maybe not sure, maybe your manifestations ain't been working, maybe because I believe they hitting us with the Gwen Towers, they hitting us with frequencies that cause us to be separated from our higher self. They cause us to doubt ourselves. This is why you like feeling depressed so suddenly, or all of a sudden you overwhelmed and you don't feel like none of the shit that you've been doing is gonna work. We are targeted individuals. Anyone who is going through the process of awakening becomes a targeted individuals for the entities and beings that rule this world that don't want that to happen. So they look at the whole layout and the timeline. Yes, Jesus walks is when most of us was introduced to him. He went from that to basically saying he was the Antichrist, right? Basically saying he didn't believe in God no more, Jesus, none of that. Then he went from that to merging his name with Jesus and calling himself Yeezy and Yeezus. Y'all remember this? And then he went from that to talking about he had sold his soul to the devil. That was a few years prior, right? Look at how crazy this looks. And then from that point, he talks about his wife is a hoe and he loved it. And now he just produced a gospel album. So this is chaos magic, people. Okay, they are performing chaos magic. And the 3D matrix and those that control it are desperate to keep control. And so things are going to get crazier and crazier. The Hegelian dialect, these strategies of war, the art of war, all of these things are being used to get the end result that they desire. I find it interesting that Lathan was fired around the same time that this album came out. I found it interesting that him and Lathan had that conversation at TMZ. You know what I'm saying? They went viral. And a lot of people still are watching it, right? Y'all remember this? So you can see the strategies of war being used now. And so you can look at a snapshot of this. They see the unity beginning to happen. They see, especially black people, are beginning to come back to the roots our spiritual practices. We're learning how to be communities. We're learning how to heal and support one another and be one. We're learning how to agree to disagree, but be able to offer love to each other. Look how many people got soul tribes and our weirdo gang. You know what I'm saying? Like the remnants from the four corners of the earth are being gathered, and healing is coming to the first people, the melanated race, the first people that were on earth, right? And so as this is happening, they have to cause some type of like division, right? You divide to conquer. And so it's no coincidence. We know in the spiritual realm that we live in, nothing happens by coincidence. I'm not fully sure what the full connection is, but that man getting fired all of a sudden over his political views when he has always expressed his political views and could have been fired at any time, but you choose to pick the day, the week to fire him when Kanye West, the person he had this major argument with, basically, to fire him. It is set up. This is numerology. This is astrotheology, astronomy. This is alchemy. This is chaos magic being performed. I ain't forgot that I'm going to put the screenshots up, okay? Showing y'all the numerology and the gematria that's being used. But this is Kanye in his interview, I think he did with Big Boy. And his shirt says AR1331A, new songs. And I just, it's, of course, it stood out to me as an intuitive. And, when I went and looked up 1331, y'all finna trip out. I'm finna show y'all what it led me to. It led me to a place called Jerusalem, Arkansas. 1331, Jerusalem, Arkansas. I'm going to make sure I put that in here too. But just notice the last video I showed you, he had 666, yes, thousand on Big Boy's channel where he did the interview, subs. And then on the top, the next top video, 999,000 views. This is 666 and 999 in reverse. 1331 is 13, and if you do a mirror of it, it's 31. Y'all see what I'm saying here? So this is absolutely magic what is being performed. And so it's not to say that we know that 666 ain't got nothing to do with evil and all that shit. However, he had the mark of the beast on him. This is how, even me, when I was in church, that's how I looked at it. He had been marked by the beast. So for the channel to have 666 subs, 66,000 subs, and then for the next highest video, him talking about this album, 999, we see the as above, so below, so within, so without. We see the mirror reflection. So this is the beast and the Christ energy. They're tapping into that. So this is why Kanye chose to put AR 1331 on his merch for the Sunday Service album. Look at it right here. Road 1331. It also means to level the playing field. It means Christ's entries on Gematrix. Christ's entries on Gematrix. 1331 means Jesus the Messiah. 1331 is equated to June 14, which we know, black people, that is a day that we celebrate in June, right? It is also connected to November 30th. I'm sorry. This goes back to everything happening with him between October and November. Y'all see this? Like, you can't make this shit up. It's so clear to see what it is. You just can't. Now, it also represents God's true bride of the rapture. 1331 does. Okay? It represents, and the winner is, Kanye is obsessed with winning, right? It also represents the living embodiment of Abaddon. Come on, y'all. Abaddon, that's where CERN is located, and it is also spoken of in the book of Revelations, right? 1331 represents hidden truths and lies exposed. 1331 represents wannabe human being. That goes back to the entities who are coming over here in droves that want to experience a human being's life. They want to be able to enter into us and experience life through us. 1331 means dead to the world. 1331 means the strict Holy Spirit. 1331 means the blessed are the weak. the reptilians at Area 51. Remember, Area 51 was going to get stormed by protesters not too long ago? Are y'all seeing the alignment of the timing and how they're doing this? So we can look at gematria and you can get an idea of the thought forms that's being created by these numbers being used. Check this out. 1331 also equates to 40 days, as in the 40 days and nights of Christ with the devil. It also equates to the art of war. Didn't I tell y'all? Didn't I tell y'all that this was the art of war? So when I found this, I didn't go Googling and searching the art of war. I was just doing the gematria on it, and it confirmed what had been spoken to me by my guides, that this was the art of war. It also represents deceiving the righteous. Why is that significant? Because a lot of church people who canceled him because they felt like he had the mark of the beast and he was working for the devil are now accepting him, which means that's putting them in a state of double-mindedness. That is putting them in a state of being that is unstable, where they're flip-flopping. They don't have a particular truth that they stand on. So energetically, this is causing people who are still in the church to get deeper into their contracts with Yaldabaoth, aka Yahweh, this entity, this energy, this deity, right? False one, new one that was created to harness the power of souls to be used by the powers that be. Exactly like on the show The Dark Crystal. And Bobby Hemmett, shout out to Bobby Hemmett, because he was one of the first ones to bring me and Ernest's attention to that show, to that movie. And guess what? Dark Crystal just released a whole season. Look at the timing, y'all. Yoke shall be destroyed because of the anointing is related to 1331. Okay? Y'all see how they using religion is to divide us. We don't have to all agree, but we can still have love and compassion towards one another. 1331 represents gang stalking is serious, even though it's a misspelling here. And I just talked about when you become an awakened soul and you are outspoken about it, you become what? Gang stalk. You become a targeted individual. So if you have been experiencing symptoms and certain things with your mood and stuff that seems like it's just not you, and it seems like no matter what you do, you keep hitting this wall of these same emotions and thoughts, it's because there is a frequency war, okay? And they are using this frequency to attack people who are awakening. 1331, offense, and I now fully accept. The coding is in the words, right? So I told you that they're getting back in contracts. So they were offended by Kanye, but now they fully accept him. A lot of people, if you watch the reactions, they're like, he my guy now. You know what I'm saying? He family now. He back in the fold. Welcome back to Christ. One of the best ones that I found in the gematria, this is a trip. Basically, it's talking about the psychological warfare that I was just talking about. So the one behind the psychological warfare, basically, to leave me now. Please leave me now. Y'all hear this? So on a subliminal level, Kanye West was saying psychological warfare is taking place, and he really wants it to leave him. But at this point, he's very tangled up with these people. So with that being said, we have 7 bodies. Some people say 10, some people more, depending on who you study and how deep you study. But yeah, we can have these entities and command them to leave us. It's just that simple, okay? Your body is your temple. It belongs to you. Begin speaking to your body. Speak to yourself. Stand in the mirror and look yourself in the windows of your soul and tell your soul that you are aligned with its highest purpose. And begin to speak against the things that are stopping you and limiting you from being your higher self. We have to face this like just straight up in his face, okay? And we can overcome this. Again, problems only are born so that solutions are created. And we are people who were put here and called to a time such as this to be awakened, to be courageous, to be brave, bold, to walk a narrow path that very few people ever even find. And we must all learn to be alchemists and transmute negative energy.